Hello and welcome back to Ballboy Media. I'm your host LJ, and today we're going to be talking about the Sacramento Kings, who have been turning it around recently after a pretty rocky start. So, talking about the Kings revival, they started 13-13, and then they lost 6 straight, so they were down at 13-19. They fired Mike Brown on December 27th, just months after he was given a multi-season extension, and roughly 2 years after winning Coach of the Year, bringing the Kings to the playoffs. They unfortunately missed the playoffs last season and have been on the down and down ever since. But they are currently on a 5-game win streak under interim coach Doug Christie, who is one of the better players in Kings history. As you can see here, here's a chart of every game the Kings have won and lost this season and the margin. This is from BasketballReference.com, and as you can see, there's a lot of blowouts, but they've been 5 straight wins. They've been winning a lot recently. So what's changed? Tenser defense for sure. They have, under Christie, had a more prioritization of defensive guards. Keon Ellis especially is the biggest beneficiary of this. He is averaging 29.7 minutes per game under Christie in the first 6 games, of his tenure. And that was, roughly 10 greater than under Mike Brown. He was only playing 19.9 minutes a game. So we're talking about 9.8 minute per game increase for Keon Ellis. And if you ask any Kings fan, they'll tell you that he's extremely valuable. He plays his tail off every game. He's just really a versatile defender. And of course, Devin Carter has returned as well. He's also proven to be a very good defensive guard. He's only playing 14.7 minutes per game. There's not really, a definitive chunk that he's playing. He's kind of just playing spot minutes. He also, got more minutes than blowout recently, so that number's a little skewed, but Carter has proven to be a talented rebounder. He's averaging 5.3 rebounds per game in only 15 minutes a game, so we're talking a rebound every 3 minutes. In 36 minutes a game, that's 12, so I think Carter, although these numbers, are fluctuated due to an increase in usage in one of his 3 games, I think it's something to watch with them. On top of that, Domantas Sabonis has kind of gone into a more facilitation role, so he's kind of taking some of Fox. De'Aaron Fox has missed some time here and there. Sabonis has become more of a facilitator. In his first 32 games, the Kings' first 32, of which Sabonis played 29, he averaged 20.9 points per game and 6.1 assists. However, last 5 games, he's turned more into a facilitator. He's up to 7.6 assists per game and still maintaining roughly 19 points. We know Sabonis' versatility. We know he can be a jack of all trades in an offense, and it's interesting to see him lead this team, especially in instances where Fox has been sidelined with a glute injury. So current state of the Kings, they're 18-19. They're 11th in the Western Conference. They're actually tied with the Spurs for that last spot, but the Spurs have the tiebreaker. But the West, as we know, after the Thunder, it's really just pretty even. They're only 2.5 games back of the Lakers, who are currently the 6th seed, and they are expected to be a buyer at the trade deadline. So here we see GM Monty McNair, and he's going to have a large say of what they can do, and they kind of have, the assets if they do want to make a big splash. They have first-round picks in 2027, 29, and 31. However, their 2031 pick is half owned by San Antonio. San Antonio has the more favorable of their pick and Sacramento's pick in 2031. They also can opt to swap their picks in 2026, 28, and 2030, and they have second-round picks in 2026, 27, 29, and 2031. In terms of potential targets, there's really not a lot of names. They're looking for some wings, some bigger players, but not really centers because Sabonis is holding it down. And some of the names that ring a bell are Cam Johnson, Kyle Kuzma, and Jeremy Grant. So acquiring Cam Johnson, he's probably the biggest guy on their list in terms of how much they'd probably desire to land him. And here I have them shipping off Kevin Huerter, Colby Jones, and Alex Len, and 2 firsts. Now, 2 firsts for Cam Johnson, I'm not a fan of it, but here's why they would do it. We know Oklahoma City is standing on a treasure trove of draft picks. They have the most draft capital any team has ever had ever. They're in the midst of a historic accumulation of capital. And so Sacramento, if they want to acquire Cam Johnson, they have to give the Nets an offer they can't refuse. Now, Oklahoma City definitely could match it. However, I have a feeling if Sacramento's offer went as high as this, because let's face the music, Will Sacramento be a playoff team in 2029? I'm not quite certain. And that pick will roll over. So I feel like, in doing this deal, their picks may be more valuable than Oklahoma City's picks, because Oklahoma City, although they have other teams' picks, it might be more worth it to land Sacramento's if you're Brooklyn. And Oklahoma City may not even want to match what Sacramento is giving up and might opt to go, we like our guys, we like Aaron Wiggins, we like Isaiah Joe. Let's see how far we can ride the momentum this year. We obviously still haven't seen Chet in action with Isaiah Hartenstein, so maybe he comes back and it's just a whole different story, and the team is they're already great. They're, roughly 30-6. Adding that piece back to the rotation, maybe the Thunder take a big look and say, all right, maybe we don't need Cam Johnson. And the Nets can use that to prop up, the Kings might not know this from the Thunder, so the Nets could prop up their, Johnson saying, Oklahoma City is giving us this, what are you going to give us? And I think in this scenario, it's 2 first-round picks. They're also adding Day'Ron Sharpe, which I actually like him as a backup center. I know Kings fans aren't the biggest fan of Alex Len, so moving on from him while adding a better center in Day'Ron Sharpe is something to watch here in this trade as well. Kyle Kuzma is the next guy on the list. Now, Kuzma has been kind of in a recession this year. He's been dealing with injuries. He's only averaging 15.1 points per game, which is his lowest since his Laker days, and he's only played 18 games, as I said, dealing with injuries, shooting 26.6% from 3. That is a poor mark for him. As we know, he can be an offensive threat. So I have them giving up a little less here. They're giving up Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and a first-round pick, which is lottery protected in 2027. That is the first pick they can trade. Huerter for Kuzma is 2 contracts that I don't think you'd like to have on your books. So kind of swapping those, and I think Lyles is definitely a valuable player. Getting a third team involved maybe to send Lyles to a contender and send more assets back to Washington might be something they want to do here. I don't feel the need to include a second first-round pick. As I said, I felt the only reason to include one in the Johnson sweepstakes was because of who he is as a player and the bidding war for him. But, yeah. So Jeremy Grant is the final player I have to talk about here. We have him going to the Blazers again for Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles, who, although the Kings may be reluctant to trade Lyles, I believe that Huerter will be in a lot of trade negotiations, as well as Colby Jones. And that 2027 first-round pick, this one's unprotected because I feel like Jeremy Grant is kind of on a higher plane than Kyle Kuzma. No disrespect to Kuzma, but Grant is a bit older. He does have a little bit more experience, and I feel like with him, you don't have the nature of not shot chucking, but to put it nicely, some questionable shot selections. I feel like Grant in an offense is kind of like a plug-and-play guy. He'll give you good minutes. He is taking a career-high 6.4 3-point attempts a game, and he's shooting 38.2%. The only qualm I have with this trade, as well as several other trades of its sort, all these guys kind of play the same role, being Grant, Kuzma, and Johnson. What I wonder is, how do you add this player to your lineup? Because I don't feel like Jeremy Grant is worthy of coming off the bench. I think he's definitively a starter in the league, and I'm wondering where he fits in. Do you move Keegan Murray to the bench maybe? I'm not quite sure, because I feel like the method for them is to start Fox, Ellis, Keegan Murray, DeRozan, and Sabonis. So I don't know where these guys fit in, but all of them kind of do the same thing. Johnson obviously is a lot better of a shooter and a more talented offensive player. Grant is the most talented defender of the bunch. So I'm very interested to see, how it all shapes out for the Kings, but they definitely have moves to be made if they want them. Thank you for watching today. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed today's video. I'm just starting this thing up. I'm really trying to get it off the ground, so any support is much appreciated. I'm going to try to get some uploads up soon. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it.